Hi everyone, hope you're all doing well. I'm sure you are doing well after yesterday's stock market moves that we had. There were some brilliant moves in the stock market, especially for me. My portfolio was honestly one of the best days I've had for a very long time. Maybe in my top kind of 5 days, my portfolio did a pretty decent day yesterday. I think overall it was up like 4%, I think it was yesterday, and I'm sure some of you guys as well had a pretty good portfolio gain yesterday. But if you could smash the like button, and if you're new, subscribe, we'll get that one out of the way as well first. But yeah, yesterday I put on the YouTube channel. So tomorrow, do you want to see a UK portfolio update, which I was planning to do? I've got my schedule for this week, and that was on my schedule to do. I always like to leave a gap though every so often, just because I know like every so often something crazy will happen and I'll cover it. Yesterday was one of those days. So I said, do you want to see UK portfolio, still an S4 Capital video, or just a general update on everything? So the UK portfolio was the third one, so we'll do that tomorrow on Wednesday, and then S4 Capital and just a general update. We're very close. So what I'm going to do is, obviously, as you can see right now, I'm doing a little minute update on S4 Capital, hopefully about 10 minutes long, and then I'm actually going to try and do a double upload and put the next video up towards the evening time, and I'll just spend a 10-minute just updating on everything and my thoughts on what's going on. That'll be a bit more US stock based. So this one's S4 Capital, and as you know, and yeah, hopefully we'll do a double upload and we'll do a general update on everything towards the evening. So keep your eye out for 2 uploads today if we can. We'll see if we can do it. But yeah, we'll talk about S4 Capital because I feel like this is my biggest UK holding. So whenever there's some big stock market, it used to be Boohoo, and then S4 Capital took over in about February, March time in this little dip here. This company actually became my biggest UK holding. So I guess really with S4 Capital, it had an amazing day yesterday. I've just actually, where's yesterday? I've actually the chart's just refreshed. So yeah, I think it was a bit more than that actually. I think it closed up about 5%, I think it was. Yeah, was that about 6% yesterday? It was a pretty good move. Pretty much all this, what you see between the 7th of 8th was the move that we had yesterday. And overall, it's been a pretty good month on general for like S4 Capital. There was a bit of a slump here. We have a little joke in the Discord because this is when I actually trim the position, and I think a lot of people in the Discord trim the position as well. And funny enough, like literally within the next few days, the stock just went down a little bit, but we pretty much recovered most of that. We've gone up below when we had a little bit of a trim, and we're at new 52 highs, which is pretty cool. And yeah, I mean, since that, it's just crazy when you think like this little February dip. This stock is like the perfect stock of how to average in, like everything that you want a stock to work out like did, and it was just the perfect company to build out a position and average into. So I pretty much started buying this stock, I think somewhere around this time, and then I just bought a little bit. Thought, you know what, pretty much what I'm doing like with Kate Box and Best of the Best right now, I'll just buy a little bit. I'll just keep buying while it flats here, and hopefully we'll have a dip, and if it does dip, I can buy heavy. And then what do we get? We get about, you know, a 15-20% dip on the company. I averaged in quite a bit, got my average down, and now I'll make even more money on the upside, which is just the best thing to do. And yeah, we've been on a pretty good run since. I mean, if any of you guys were lucky enough and actually picked it up at them lows, like some of you guys are at like 40%, which is nuts. I think personally I'm up like 30 something percent. But if any of you guys really did pick up the lows, you might not have built a good position, but you're probably up quite a fair bit as well, which is pretty good. But yeah, obviously since here, up 30%, really good. You know, to be up 30% in 5-6 months is amazing. You know, don't forget that. You know, I think sometimes people can get carried away with like, oh, now I want 40%, now I want 50%, now I want 60%. Not just to kind of like step back and go, a 30% gain here within 4 or 5 months is amazing. Don't get caught up in the hype. Don't get carried away. Don't start thinking, oh, okay, I'm going to make so much money. This is what happens quite often. This is why you've always got to have, my favourite quote to run through my head is, you know, always be greedy when others are fearful, and be fearful when others are greedy. And when we start getting into this situation, I start thinking, okay, just be very careful with this and reassess the situation. And that's the big thing, you know, don't forget, like, to have this amount of gains on a stock is amazing. You know, if we carried on doing a 30% in 6 months, we'd be up, 60% in a year. But yeah, I mean, generally, if someone offered me 30 or 40% return on this company through the first year of holding, I'd have been very happy with that. So yeah, that's what I'm going to say about that one. Don't get too carried away, because what the stock market returns on average. Well, the FTSE is probably lower than the S&P 500, but like 8-9% a year, 3 times outperform the market as well. It's just really really good gains, and that's my big thing at the moment. Is just don't get too carried away, but fair play to S4 Capital. It's performing, and financially it's performing as well. The jump really came off a couple of articles really. The first, probably the main one, was this, that S4 Capital upgrades guidance as revenue almost doubles. So I won't read this whole article out to you guys, but basically, as we know, S4 Capital is performing absolutely amazing. Came in and said they're also going to, this quote here, they're also going to raise guidance. I still think they could probably beat what guidance they are offering here. So yeah, that was pretty much the jump that they did have. One other article that came out is that they're also looking at adopting hybrid working. So we'll see what happens here. Several leases have been terminated for the offices. I mean, that might help numbers as well a bit further down the line. We'll see what happens. I mean, Martin Sorrell, I'm sure he obviously, the big thing with like S4 Capital, and I always say this, is like management can make or break an investment, and this is a class example of like a really good management team. Like if it wasn't for Martin Sorrell being here, I don't know if I would have bought this company, or I don't know if I would have made it my number one position. But this is a prime example of management that are absolutely smashing it, and as long as he is there, I'm very happy to actually hold this position. And one of the things that I always get asked is like, what are my plans for like actually selling this company, and I want to hold it for 2 to 5 years. I think personally, in my opinion, I think obviously we've got great management here, great company, and I think one of the big things here for me is that Martin Sorrell, my personal opinion is that he's got a bee in his bonnet, and he wants to get a bigger market cap than WPP. Now, if you guys don't know, just have a quick Google on this if you want the full story. Basically, there's a lot of tension. He used to run the company. Eventually, there was a few situations that happened. He was forced to leave the company. He then set up S4 Capital. He also recruited quite a few staff from his old company as well, which then caused a bit more friction as well. And that's why S4 Capital is performing amazing. And this company has fallen off a cliff since he left. And one of my biggest things is that, you look at how well this was doing when he was there. One of my biggest things is like, if Martin Sorrell was ever to leave, this is a prime example of like, he was a really good management. Clearly the management they have now isn't doing as well as when he was there. And my same thoughts go to SL Capital, is if he wasn't there, would they be performing as well? Maybe not. And that's, like I said, management makes or breaks an investment, and that's why you've always got to look into the management team. And you can see here, founder Martin Sorrell here. And I think that's the biggest thing with this company. Like, my biggest threat to S4 Capital is that he leaves. And obviously, I'm sure pretty much a lot of you know, he's currently 76 years old. Now, obviously, we know Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett, I reckon, could be 200 and still probably be running Berkshire Hathaway. But obviously, there's a point where it comes to like, okay, 76, how long is he going to plan to go from on? And in my opinion, I think the big thing for me is that he wants to go up and set up S4 Capital, and he wants to go and say to WPP, look, I actually just made a bigger company than you in this time frame. Point proven, you should have kept me. And I think that's his bee in the bonnet. He wants to have a bigger company than the WPP. And at the moment, if we look at these guys, they're currently trading at a market cap of 12 billion. After S4 Capital's jumped yesterday, they're currently at 3.4 billion. So there's still a lot of upside to get to that point. For sure, if S4 Capital keep performing how they are performing, and the only little thing you would have to look for, obviously you got the financial can recover here. So if I go from here, you could see here, they can perform pretty well. But even it's fair saying that 100% actually wouldn't even take them over the market cap of WPP. But if they carry on performing financially well, the share price will reflect that, and they will grow and grow. So there is a chance that, you only have to go on a 5-year chart, and they've been performing so well here, 325% over the course of a year period. And I think that could carry on for sure. Like, in my opinion, I do think S4 Capital is a potential. I definitely think it will be a 2x company. I think it could be a 3x, 4x company potentially. and I think that could be over the next 5 years. My biggest worry is that Martin Sorrell does leave. I don't think he will do, because we listen to him on interviews, he's still absolutely amazing. I still think he wants to get bigger than WPP, but that's my biggest threat. But I still think there's massive, massive amounts of upside. And even with the jump yesterday in SFL Capital, the actual financial side of it isn't too bad still. I mean, what we're trading, like it says here 3.3 billion market cap company. I think Google said 3.4. But I mean, on a sales to valuation point of view, we're still trading like around about just under a 6, 5 point something. It's not a crazy valuation. You know, this sort of company, if this was an actual like US company, you know, we'd probably expect like trading at like a valuation to sales of like maybe 10, maybe 15. So yeah, I mean, it's still not crazy valued, to be fair, even on this on this good run. So I think it could still perform very well. It's not like a crazy overvalued stock. But yeah, in my opinion, great news. It's performed very well. I'm really happy. My biggest position in the UK portfolio is absolutely smashing it. Still think there's a lot of upside. I always get a couple of questions like, you know, is it too late to buy it? And honestly, like, it's so hard to do when you've bought a company and you've averaged in on a dip and then say, is it too late to buy it? It's always, you know, hard to say. In my opinion, I'd be looking at exactly doing the same tactic as what I did. Buy a little bit, you're involved in it then. If it dips, you can average in, and if it carries on going up, you've got some shares there that you can hold. It might not be the position size that you wanted, but you're in the party, if you get what I mean. Because it's obviously it's been on a crazy run, and that's the big thing. You know, the worst thing you do is buy 52 Ks on a stock like this. It's been on a crazy run. You just need to be prepared to have a game plan if it goes south from here and we have a 20-30% dip. That's always a big thing you've got to be really careful of when you're buying on a company on this sort of run. But overall, yeah, the point of S4 Capital, and just a little update, fantastic news that came out yesterday, performing very well, and yeah, I'm still planning to hold. I still think it's got a lot of potential, and that's overall that's my biggest threat, you know, to S4 Capital is Martin Sorrell leaving, just very much like how I think Greg's biggest threat is Roger Whiteside leaves. Management is key when you're investing into a company, but overall I still think there's plenty of upside, and I'm still going to hold my shares going forward anyway. And that's the video anyway on S4 Capital. So for you guys who wanted to do that one, hope it was useful. If you could smash the like button, if you're new, subscribe as well, and I'll see you hopefully on a video later today.